Dwayne.
All right, thank you, Garrett. Good morning, all. I hope we all had a good week. Wanted to take a quick moment to say thank you to all you guys who worked in the streets last week, keeping folks cool and hydrated. It was real nice to sit in the space with you and watch the work that you guys do. I appreciate you. So please take a moment to give yourselves a small round of applause for the work that you did. I appreciate all that you've done, and you guys should really take a second to, and celebrate yourselves and the work that you've done for people. We appreciate it, and I'm sure they appreciate it also. Again, welcome to the coalition meeting. I am hosting today because unfortunately one of us had to leave, and so they asked me to step in for the day. Wanted to take the time to acknowledge the land that we're on, and take a second to give thanks to the people that came before us, and move forward from there. We'd like to have Rosemary start our meeting for us, as she usually does, and we'll go from there. So I'll pass it off to Rosemary.
Well, thank you, Dwayne. I was hoping you had more words of wisdom, but I think your words are great. So I really appreciate your taking on this task today. And for everyone else, if you're new to the coalition, we have a set of meeting norms around Zoom and around our conversations that I'll just point out to you. I don't have them ready to post right now. I will put them in the chat when I get them ready. Mostly for Zoom, we are wanting to be sure we hear people when they're ready to speak. So we have those little hand icons, and if you try that and it doesn't work, just wave about so somebody will recognize you, and we'll try to make sure you have an opportunity to speak. And then the other request is that when we're not speaking, that we keep ourselves on mute, and if we're doing other activities that need our attention, that we also stop our video during that period so we're not distracting. Those are the main ones for the Zoom process. And for the regular meeting norms, it's the sort of thing of, we really want to focus on how do we lead toward equity in what we do. So to ask that question whenever we are thinking about actions we're taking, and also be aware of the dynamics of power, how we present ourselves in the group, and how we can encourage one another to speak out. Some of us aren't very talkative, others are more talkative. So I think one of the norms says something about step up and step back as two processes that we can all pay attention to. And we usually have a feature that we have new folks introduce themselves, but I think Dwayne's going to take us into a process that will help us to do that better. So I would leave that to you and return the floor to you, Dwayne.
All right, thank you, Rosemary. I appreciate that. Yes, this morning we are going to actually start off with a new small networking breakout session where you guys can actually sit with each other and learn what each other's processes are, what you do for your organizations, and do that connection thing that you need to do to help the folks that we work with. So what we're going to do again is have Garrett break us out into small groups, and we want you guys to do a serious job of introducing yourselves and what brings you to the meetings. Also, again, this is that time for you to network with somebody. If you are in a group with somebody that has got resources that you're going to use for your clients, exchange those numbers and get to know each other and find out what each organization does. So go ahead and jump in your meetings and get to networking. Garrett, if you could pass this off, that'd be great.
Sure. So I'm going to set us up in groups around 5 people in each meeting room, and I'm going to post before we launch off here those questions that Dwayne just mentioned, right? So introduce yourselves. Hopefully that'll take a lot of the time. This goal is to have some of the water cooler talk we used to have at our meetings back before we were virtual. And then also you can answer the question, what do you do in your work and your life that relates to homelessness? And if you're still having trouble with stuff to talk about, we'll throw another suggestion or two into the chat and into the meeting rooms. But just a chance, hopefully, to get to know somebody you don't know or touch base with others. So off we all go. All right, I think we are all pretty much back here, Dwayne.
All righty. Hope everybody had a good conversation and some networking was done. It's always good to build those relationships because that's how we help our clients as best we can. And again, I see people are sharing their contact information in chat. Please go ahead and do so if you are inclined so that everybody can get to know each other a little more so. All right, so at this point, we're going to move on to our This Week in the Street segment. We want to ask anybody who have any updates from the outreach teams about what's been happening this last week. Just go ahead and unmute yourselves and jump in, or raise your hand if you have any updates.
Water has been happening.
Thank you, Monique.
Yeah. Bob Hope delivered 110 cases of water. We went under the 11th Street Bridge and no water there. So we left them. They said they had spigots, but someone turned them off. So they had no water. So we left about 20 cases of water there. And then Tammy and Nikki, who are my outreach specialists, went to other locations and dropped a bunch of water. And I know they got some to Paula. And Paula, I apologize for the event last Friday. I'm so sorry, miscommunication. But anyway, yeah, we did a lot of water deliveries and got some folks housed this week.
Greatness. Thank you, Monique. Did I see your hand go up, Errol?
Hey, I'm Wolf, who's also from the Food Not Bombs team. Just to give you an update on what's been going on with us. We've been responding especially to the heat wave. We've been at camps every day this week. We've probably distributed upwards of probably more than 3,000 bottles of water directly to camps with food and also medical care during the heat wave to make sure people aren't suffering from heat exhaustion or heat stroke. Specifically on Monday, we ended up going to 15 camps. We usually do 4 or 5, so we more than tripled our usual capacity responding to the heat wave. Moving forward, we'll be transitioning to a new 6-day-a-week schedule. So we'll be more consistent in our time at camps. And we're looking forward to more support from the city and from this coalition and helping us keep that going and helping us respond to future heat waves. This is almost certainly not the last. And if we want to keep up the schedule that we were able to achieve during this week with going to like 15 camps in one day, that requires a lot of support.
Yeah, and I also wanted to add that I just wanted to say thank you to everyone on this call who helped mobilize, because if it were not for this coalition and all of the groups and service providers and community members, people would have died at those camps because the city did absolutely nothing. And it wasn't until Saturday night when myself and numerous members of this coalition called the mayor on her personal cell phone that they bottled 12,000 bottles of water. And had we not done that, had this coalition not pressured the city, people would have died. And we saw it the first couple of days working up to it. We took a couple of people to the hospital, and had we not gotten that water, so thank you so much to everyone that pressured the city, that got out there, that raised in your own community, told people where to drop off water. It really, despite it's these times that kind of suck and show us the failures of the system and how there's just so many gaps within the system, and the system's not built for human needs. And at the same time, it shows like the beauty of community and how much when we mobilize, when we stand together and we do things, we can impact people's lives. So I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. That's some great perspective. I really appreciate that perspective. Appreciate you guys. Any other outreach updates? Jeffrey.
Well, like you, I was, and many others, I was out and about. I was able to collect up some water from church and introduce a doctor to Food Not Bombs, and met up with them at one of the encampments. I did also find some new encampments, 2 in Parkland and 1 in South Tacoma. Those I've passed on to Maureen, hopefully to get on the list. And like everyone else, had to duck this hard weather. Hopefully we won't see too many more days like this summer.
Agreed. Hopefully we won't. Paula?
So we went out to one of the things that in Arrow, I echo a lot of the thoughts that you said. I was flabbergasted that there wasn't a more coordinated effort to have water available for all of the outreach teams that were able to go out. And then originally it was just for the Tacoma area and nobody was thinking about East Pierce County, it sounded like. So I applaud the efforts of Maureen and Jan and Garrett and everybody that was the coordinating portions of this, because without that, we would not have been able to get the water to all the teams that were out there. And, you know, the thing that I think is huge in this is the fact that Pierce Transit was able to, you know, pick people up and take them to the cooling center, but there was no plan for the East Pierce County areas where there are encampments, where there are homeless, and they had no way to get to those. That's what we ended up doing, was transporting people down to cooling centers and bringing the water to them, like a lot of you to the encampments. But you know, something like this event, which we know there's going to be more of, and or the smoke, you know, if the air quality gets really bad, all of those things, there's got to be a county-wide plan for some sort of cohesive, put it together. And I don't know where emergency management was in this. I'm not sure. I know, I don't believe the ones in our areas were doing anything to make sure that there was adequate water available for people who are unhoused, all of that. And it just, again, I'm floored that there was not more of a plan in place for helping those that can't get to the cooling centers and are in those outlying areas where there is no transit service. So that's all I got to say on that, I think.
And that was a lot. Thank you, Paula, because that is a big gap, and it's something that needs to be brought to the attention of the people that need to do, that have the power to do something about it. So thank you for that, Paula. And with that, I know there's probably more outreach, but it sounds like, because we're talking a lot about the heat emergency and the actions of that, can we kind of transition over to that as we speak on the outreach from there? And I'm going to pass that on to Maureen, as she's got more to talk about on the heat emergency.
Thank you, Dwayne. So at some point I renamed myself the Water Witch. But first of all, thank you, everybody. Just unbelievable work. And a lot of work folks don't know about. And Garrett, I forgot to ask, but can you put that heat emergency document up? If you screen share, nobody gasps at my desktop, which is not improved over the last time I tried this. So what we want to do is we want to take the next 30 minutes, if we need it, and talk through kind of the beginning of an after action report. And some of that was already started in the on the street section. And late last night, I did a one-pager to kind of get us started. And so let me just, as an intro, the news reported this morning that there were 9 deaths in Pierce County from heat exposure. We do not know if any of those people are people experiencing homelessness. We will find that out, but I don't know it right now. What I do know is that we save lives. There's no question about that. So I thought as a way to do this, just to kind of get started, to break it into things that worked well, things that we know worked well, and then maybe spend about 10 minutes on that or less, and then things that made it hard. And then lastly, things that we need to do differently next time. So what I was thinking is because we probably have people on the phone who may not be able to see this, I'm going to read through it and then just ask people to comment. And if folks don't comment, or if only the usual suspects comment, then I'm going to just invite people as I see people on my screen. So things that worked well. The coalition key volunteers stepped up. We got water. We found out who needed water. We got water out to people in encampments. We kept everyone informed about how to get water and about cooling centers, both formal and informal. Nourish Pierce County gave us our first 10 pallets of water and their lift truck. Jan Runbeck gave us the driver, her husband, Mike Mowat. Our informal communication hub, phone, email, website, and social media. Our outreach chart, who would go where and when. The community response when we asked for water to be donated. We got more water donated from that community response Saturday afternoon than Pierce County Human Services was able to get from the Department of Emergency Management at the same time. Outreach workers drew on prior relationships with people they knew who were living unsheltered. The back office coalition volunteers drew on prior relationships with key local leadership. Some outrageous coalition volunteers did some things, asked for a water truck, contacted TPU, called the mayor, called local government staff and leadership, called the Department of Emergency Management, and a number of public institutions and members of the faith community. CCS allowed us to use the stability site 24/7 for delivery and distribution. And people worked well together, just really well across the sort of official providers, the volunteers, and the activist lines. It was all about how do we get the water out, who needs help, what encampments have been discovered, that sort of thing. So let's just take a little bit of time and if people just put in the chat or say out loud what worked well. I'm gonna see if I can see people. Dwayne, I'm hoping you can see people. Hands go up, maybe, if I can't.
I see no hands so far, but there is a lot of information that has come through the chat.
Oh, super.
Could you take down the share just for this section and put it back up for the
Oh,
next?
that's a good idea. Thank you very much. Garrett, thank you. Okay. Hands, folks.
I'll go. So I can turn my camera. One of the things that worked well, I went out with the mission on Saturday, was again just volunteers. I know the mission that had put out a huge ask for water, and just the volunteer response was huge. Excuse me, with just like cases and cases of water. We were able to go out. We went out. We typically go out with water, and you know, in the winter months we go out with a 5-gallon thing of hot chocolate and a 5-gallon canister of hot water. Well, we you know, dumped those and used ice water, so we had 10 gallons of ice water on top of our you know, typical, just we filled the entire van with water instead of blankets and everything else, and we went through almost all of it within a couple hours. On Saturday we went, you know, through Spanaway, and I would just say like the community response is what went well, and I could tell you lots of things that didn't go well, but I'll save that.
Okay. Other people. Things that went well. Please do use the chat.
I want to say that I went out of town into a cooler place for a few days, and I'm ashamed to admit that, but there it is. But while I was gone, my neighbors picked up all of the water delivery in this area. And one of the neighbors, Mary Conley, I don't know if she's here or not, but she had this brilliant idea to freeze water bottles. So they were able to take water bottles out that were cold and so much nicer than the room temperature ones that I was handing out at the time. So anyway, that's a thought. If we have space, freezer space, that could be a real gift.
So we'll hold that for the things to do differently next time as well. Double duty there. I see Arrow and Henri and Wolf.
Yeah, this was for me. I would say that Maureen and the coalition's kind of centralization of a place to get information and make sure that we were covering camps. It was not perfect, but it was, I think, the first time that, to my knowledge, that it's been done this way. And I think that went really well from where we're sitting at least. So good job. Thank you. It was great to be able to call you when we were scared about water on Friday.
Thank you. Other folks?
I know I'm a usual suspect. However, I want to say that the ease of getting the water, I know it's probably already in there, but the ease of getting the water was exceptional for me because I ran out and then my people were able to go pick up water right away and replenish the area where I ran out. So just the ease of it.
No. Usual suspects can talk. I just want to make sure everybody gets a chance.
I just want to highlight, I know I tried to step up, step back, but then I hate awkward pauses. We had, a neighbor outside who was experiencing homelessness, and he knew of a water spigot in his location that he'd been getting cold water out of. And I just want to highlight like him telling everyone else when we were in this big space, he told everyone else like, hey, when the mission leaves and your water runs out, there's this water spigot over here. I've been getting water from every day. And just, the resilience and the fact that he had gone, searched that out, found it, and then made sure that everyone around him also knew about it as well.
So let's add that to our list of things we need to do differently. Make sure we know where all the water spigots are. Anybody else? Things that worked well? Seems like it was about a year ago, Okay, then let's move on to things that made it hard. Garrett, you want to stick that back up again and I'll run through that part, if you would, please. Okay, these are things that made it hard. No government emergency plans for getting enough water to unsheltered people countywide. Every person, every pet, in every encampment, every single day. No knowledge of how much water we would actually need. No place to stage the water. No actual list of all the homeless outreach workers or contact information for them. No understanding of how each homeless outreach team works, where they go and when. No outreach from any jurisdiction about their plan for unsheltered people, contact information, etc. No current list of all known encampments across the county. No coalition plan. No requirement that anyone share information with the coalition. No easy way to track all the community cooling center efforts. No information on Pierce Transit schedules and routes near encampments. No security for people's belongings in encampments. No preparation for pets. No transportation for people needing medical care. I mean, the official kind of stuff. And no plan to pick up garbage bags of empty water bottles. Other things that people, that made it hard. Other things that made it hard.
I'm going to bring up again what Teresa said about the cold water. I tried to find ice and all the stores were out of ice. So finding a way to get this water cold before we take it out would be great.
Other things that made it hard. We'll save the chat. We'll have the recording. So,
Paula has her hand up.
oh, Paula, please. And then Arrow, etc. Paula?
Yeah, just one little thing is that we partner with specific service providers out in this East Pierce County area, and 2 out of the 3 were not available to work the weekend. And so I don't know how that can be developed into each one of the service providers' plans, but and I don't know if it was a question of funding or what exactly the holdup was, but it literally was New Hope and FOB Hope with help from churches in this area on those 3 hottest days. Well, not on Monday, but on the weekend. And so that's something that maybe we need to, as a coalition, think about how when we do have this type of situation where it's so critical that people get life-sustaining water and cooling and all of that type of thing, or any kind of natural disaster or thing that we have to prepare for, that we have partner agencies all agree that potentially there may be a need for overtime, and maybe there's some way the county can help pay for that or something. But it's when you're a 4-legged dog and you're walking with 2 legs, it's a little bit difficult.
Yeah. Henri and Arrow and Wolf.
Yeah, so I mean, just every camp we went to, a lot of people had already found a way to get water, but every camp, they were always asking me for ice to keep cool. And we're trying to prevent, heat stroke and heat exhaustion. We need a good way to keep people's core temperatures down. So we had one restaurant on Sunday who contacted us about donating ice. So I think there could be an effort in the future to reach out and try to find businesses who have cooler space, or anyone who has like big, industrial cooler space, and freezer space, so that we could put water bottles in, or they can just give us ice. But we couldn't find it at any stores. We literally could not get ice, and we need ice.
I think we also need information. Like we know King County responded really quickly with how many people had died over the weekend. Pierce County.
A little bit louder, Henri.
Pierce County, why did it take days to figure out that information? We still don't have full information. Somebody told me it might be a funding issue for the coroner, but still it's unacceptable. The egos of city officials were also a problem. We had to beg them for water, and when they finally came through, they were just patting themselves on the back about what a great job they did when they had nothing to be celebrating. It was really gross.
Things that were hard. Megan.
Just to piggyback off Wolf, another thing, because I was out with Food Not Bombs a couple of days, one common ask from residents at these encampments was food. So not only just water, but actually like the physical effort to walk and go get food could also potentially lead to heat exhaustion. So I'm wondering about how that could be coordinated with our effort. It's not just water, but those things to make sure folks' sugars are up. But also just also information to go out to one thing I didn't see and that's needed is like education around what are the signs around heat stroke and heat exhaustion to also be handed out. Yeah, and I'm also thinking about, it's great that Pierce County and those buses were able to get folks to cooling centers, but oftentimes, especially for the camps that are farther away from Pierce Transit, so I'm thinking about Paula's comments in our breakout rooms around how can we make sure that transportation gets to everyone. That might mean and cooling, how can we get cooling centers out to folks? Yeah.
Thanks. I see Bill Fay. Or William Fay.
mute. Okay, Bill's good. And I don't, there's two aspects to this. And there's the internal where you're giving them water, and then there's the cooling that has to happen. I'm no physician, but is there any way to, no, lack of a better term, to get wet blankets or chilled blankets or some kind of misting, or because I think you might have, the greater concern is maybe not the lack of water internally. It may just be the impact of the heat externally. Somebody who's actually in the medical profession might have a better clue on that. Just an observation.
Thank you. Let's hold that, also double that into our do differently next time. Patty and then Monique. Patty Schneider.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So I unfortunately wasn't able to go in any outreach because I was trying to keep my 80-year-old mother without air conditioning cooled off. But she was at a doctor's appointment. The doctor told her she needed towels around her neck and under her armpits to keep her core cooled. Took her to another appointment for a Kaiser Permanente Puyallup. And there was this 85-year-old woman sitting out there when I dropped her off. An hour later, she was still sitting out there. And this is where I got really pissed. And she went in for a minute, came back out. So I got out. I'm like, you need to go inside. It's really hot out here, because she was like slumped over. And I got her in there, and the mask Nazi would not let her come in because she couldn't wear the mask. It made her not breathe. So I was really frustrated with the lack of knowledge some people have that it's okay to take the mask off to let someone not die from heat stroke, you know, and maybe in the future we could get other area stores, you know, I don't know, gyms or big locations where people can just come in anywhere in Pierce County. So we're not having to worry about transportation per se, but just having a greater community effort to just allow, you know, seniors were a big concern also, especially if they didn't have any air conditioning. But that was my 2 cents.
No, thank you. And again, adding those to the things we need to do differently. Monique.
Yeah, before all the smart people talked about cooling wraps and stuff, I was gonna say that we could get make sure we had plastic baggies to put ice in so people could cool their bodies, but I guess there's things made for that, so I'll take it back.
Okay, Haley.
I just would love to see the cooling centers extended. They were really beneficial, but we were heading back in close to 9:30 or 10 when it was still 90 something degrees out. And we were like, let's go check out the Church of All Nations. No one's asked us to take them there. So let's just go see it for ourselves. Now, we didn't have time before. And we were shocked that it was closed already and everything was done. And we'd been referring people there. And so then I got on the Pierce County list because our paper list was not exhaustive of all of the centers. And I was just seeing so many that were closing at 6. And when we went out at 6, it was still 100 degrees out. And that was when we were most concerned about people. People were falling asleep in the sun at that point. And when we were trying to just like, you know, get them water, they were so disoriented. And at that point, you know, where were we to refer them to? Some weren't open till 8. And I understand that they were volunteer ran and that there's other logistics to that. But closing at 6 was not okay. I don't think that was okay, that it was still 100 degrees out at 6 p.m.
Okay, Arrow, last from Arrow and crew, and then I want to move on to the last part. Okay.
Okay. So a major thing with this community is that it is very difficult to peel them from their stuff because it takes a lot to get stuff. And if you leave your stuff gets stolen. And I don't necessarily know the solution right now, but something that I believe we all have to figure out is when these happen and climate disasters and crises are only going to get worse. There has to be a way to make sure that folks feel secure enough, like leaving their stuff or transporting stuff, or I'm not sure, but that's a major thing, and why people aren't going to go to cooling stations or aren't going to go to warming stations. And so I don't know the solution for that, but I just want to throw out that that's a big thing. That's an issue.
Okay, Haley, yeah, thank you. So let's, Garrett, if you can bring up the last part of the one pager, things we need to do differently. So things we need to do differently. Have a public jurisdiction plan, a local jurisdiction plan, each one of them, all right? Have a coalition emergency plan, have at least 10 pallets of water on hand at all times for countywide use, and bring the cooling centers to people in encampments. And before folks add in now, just some information for everybody. This is how we got the water, all right? On Monday of last week, we learned from Linda Stewart at the city that at that time, the city was not going to stand up cooling centers. They were going to stand up one center with the Korean Women's Association, but it would not go up until Monday the 28th. And it would go up at 85 degrees temperature or a specific EPA air quality level, which I forgot to look up, of course. But Linda did say that the city would reimburse purchased water used within the city. Following that conversation, Jan Runbeck, who's not on the call today, who is a retired public health nurse, spoke with her husband, Mike Moat, who is also retired and is a volunteer driver with Nourish Pierce County, among other things. Mike reached out to Nourish Pierce County and immediately got 2 pallets of water. At the same time, the city of Tacoma got 1,600 bottles of water from the Niagara bottling water plant, which is connected to TPU, all right? Tacoma Public Utilities. Following that, I heard on the news that the Seattle Union Gospel Mission had brought 30 pallets up from its own warehouse. And I thought, if they need 30 pallets of water and we've got 2, we're in trouble. So we started looking for more water. Because there was a concern about where we could use water, Mike reached out to the Emergency Food Network. Mike Moat reached out to the Emergency Food Network, and Jan to the Salvation Army Puyallup, and EFN delivered 2 pallets to the Salvation Army Puyallup, so that we took care of, we shut down that issue immediately. The problem was they had limited hours that they were open. Mike went back to Nourish Pierce County. They cleared out their warehouse of anything they had that was liquid. That's where the flavored waters and the tea came from, 8 pallets. Pierce County Human Services was meeting with the Pierce County Department of Emergency Management on Friday morning and still Friday afternoon. We were told that we would get 9 to 15 pallets of water from Pierce County Department of Emergency Management. When Mike went to get them, we had 1 pallet. The rest had been redirected to cooling centers and other public locations. Jan found water, she thought, in Aberdeen, and Mike was prepared to go get it. Nourish Pierce County gave him use of their truck because he was a certified driver, their lift truck. So we had a lift truck pallet jack. That part was taken care of. We did not get more water from the Department of Emergency Management until Heather Moss stepped in, Director of Human Services for Pierce County, stepped in on Saturday afternoon when we were out of water. And she got another half pallet or pallet, I'm not sure which, delivered directly to the stability site. We then went public and just begged for water, not for money, for water. And we got, as of early Sunday morning, we had 1.5 pallets come in from individual donors across, not just Pierce County, but I know some came down from King County. By Saturday, about 6 o'clock, At 5 o'clock, the mayor asked me to give her half an hour before I called the governor. And by 6 o'clock, I had word from Linda Stewart that we had 10 pallets of water coming from the Niagara Bottling Water Company that would be delivered to the stability site either late Saturday or early Sunday. They were delivered before midnight, and we got pictures. That water then went out, and I had been told that more water would be available, and more water was available. We got another 10 pallets on Monday. The city will continue to make that water. That water was free. All right. All of the water we received was free. The water, the city will continue to make water available through the Niagara Bottling Company, through with these 85-degree days and stuff. We don't know how that happens yet. All right. So don't ask me, just put it on the list. I've asked. But so we were really, really lucky. And the coalition was not the only group that went, as the Food Not Bombs folks have said. A lot of people reached out to elected officials and staff, basically begging for water. And so, we're not going to do this again. Okay, we're going to help the people who are supposed to do this do it, and we'll find our niche in there. So we've asked for a formal after action meeting of all of the players who had a part. Our slice, although we supplied some of the unofficial cooling centers, that sort of thing, but our slice is people who are living unsheltered. And that's what we want to hold at the table. And we want to hold it in a way that everybody has the water they need, irrespective of where they are, irrespective of whether they have stuff, pets, or anything else. And so we have reached out to other partners at a national level who do disaster relief, as that's their work. And they have provided us with some information. We have reached out to local folks who do disaster relief. And I figure for sure we have a week, because the temperatures are not going above 85, although we got a countywide issue. So it can be 84 in Tacoma and 89 in the foothills. And I don't have a resolution for that either. But what I know is that we're not doing this again. We're going to do it better. All right. The mayor thanked us. And we'll send the clip out, or where you can find it. But when the mayor thanked Tacoma Public Utilities and Niagara Bottling and the people who came in over the weekend there to bottle Saturday night for us, and Linda Stewart and other city people, and she thanked the coalition as well, and the community volunteers. And we're grateful, obviously, for that. But what we really want is a system that works, that we're paying for, and we have money. All right. This is not a case of being under-resourced. The county sits on $175 million in state and local ARPA money. The city sits on about 63. We are not under-resourced. Mike Boyster.
Yeah, thank you, Maureen. I'm going to say I was out of town, and also I was on impact training. So here's what I have been working on, and I got kickback when I tried to do this at the city Puyallup. But what keeps coming to my mind throughout this whole thing in your conversation is we can't just deal with the heat, we need to deal with the cold. And I call it inclement weather policy, which I'm going to push. I chair the Disaster Assistance Council for Pierce County. And so myself and one other person, I'm going to push this onto our agenda, I believe next week. And also, I'm intrigued that Seattle was faster than Pierce County. I know they have new leadership. And so with our leverage with the Disaster Assistance Council, I'm going to push back to them and say, hey, what's your process? But the whole thing needs to be inclement weather policies, because I get tired of Okay, we have to have a warming center because it's cold out. We knew the weather was going to change.
Yeah.
Okay, and that was my conversation with Puyallup City Council, and I got pushback. Okay, and so we need to either push it up, and I'm going to have a conversation. You just triggered my conversation with Mr. Zeiger. I'm going to have a conversation with him tonight, and I'm going to push this to him too, because this is really bad, and I don't like knee-jerk activity. Okay, but for whatever reason, we do a great job at it. Okay, we come together and somewhat resolved it. Okay, but we know it will happen. So what is our plan? And that's why I'm pushing this inclement weather policy or whatever it is. And each jurisdiction, I like the way you put it, each jurisdiction needs to have their own, as well as the county. It's no different if the city says, okay, we're going to implement our inclement weather, they need to tell the county. Okay, there's a whole loop in this that appears that did not work. Okay, so I'll get off my soapbox on that one.
No, thank you. So three things. One, if you are on anything like Mike has described, being on the Disaster Assistance Council, if you hold a position on anything like that, let us know. Either email me, put it in the chat, or send it to info@pchomeless.org so that we know where we have players who already know how the rest of the world works. I have U.S. Embassy experience for operations centers and 24/7 coverage for U.S. citizens in a country, and stand-ups when there's a crisis, that kind of thing. And I know there are some other people who have particular experience. So let us know, because that helps. Number two, we're focused on heat and air quality right now, but certainly the cold is part of that. We're not going to have like 3 separate policies. We're going to have a policy. And third, if you hear of colleagues in other places, especially on the West Coast, Washington and Oregon, that have done specific things, then let us know. All right. We're tracking some of that, but not all of it. And then I'm going to ask Colin, and then I'm going to close this out because I just looked at the clock. Colin, and then Gerald, and then use the chat. Okay, Colin, and then Gerald.
Right. Thanks, Maureen. I was just going to say that I think to your point and to Mike's point, I'm hoping, and it sounds like it, like the emergency management teams that are in the county and the city, I think when we look at where the ball was dropped, I mean, that's kind of what their job is to manage emergencies, right? So, and I think being proactive, in Mike's point, knowing that it's going to get hot, it's going to get cold, and we're probably also going to, here in the very near future, be dealing with air quality also, which I know you mentioned. So yes, this needs to be looked at as just a plan that needs to be year round, that can be quickly activated. And one of my things that I hope goes back to, if you do talk to the emergency management team or whatever that looks like, the representatives from the city and the counties, or county and the cities, is there should be someone representing individuals experiencing homelessness on those teams, and it shouldn't be a government employee. So whether that's someone from the coalition that can be a representative, or ideally someone who is experiencing homelessness that can come in and give recommendations on what they need also, because once again, we're looking around trying to figure it out, and no one's talking to the people that are actually out there going through it. So yeah.
Thank you. Gerald?
Yeah, just kind of a comment, statement, and suggestion. And I'll say I don't have the answer to it in this forum that we're in. But as being one of the emergency cooling centers that we were asked to be last week, I just want to talk about, what are possible challenges of how we can collaborate together from this forum. Everyone who has the heart to do this, as Colin mentioned, there are other things going to be coming up, right? Inclement weather and those things. So with us being an emergency cooling shelter last week, we had the challenge of be in a cooling station, be in a cooling center, plus do outreach, continue to take food, continue to take water and everything out, right? If it's possible, how do we come together and collaborate and say get a volunteer list to help support the cooling centers, not just ours, but others? Because if each of us have our organization, each of us focused on what we do, but we have multiple people. You know, everyone wants to get to the people in the encampment, but sometimes the small work is what we need. You know, if we've got 5 people, a 5-person staff going to the encampment instead of 5, we've got a list of 2 people saying, let's go support this center so that center can stay open later so we can get more support services in the center so they can do that. If we have that list or actual volunteers helping to collaborate in different centers, that would definitely help. It wasn't a big deal for us because we love doing it. And we extended up until Tuesday, actually, and continue to do what we did. But it would help that if we had some volunteers, rather than being into the encampments, coming over to the center, saying, hey, we'll work these hours so you can extend and your people can get some rest. Just kind of a suggestion.
That's a perfect way to close us out. People need to know that it was in a coalition steering committee Wednesday afternoon. So, and we said, you know, look, we don't have any known cooling centers within the city. And Gerald said, RISE will stand one up, and they did. And we know a lot of other volunteer groups did the same, but truly, people are alive because of the work that you all did. So thank you. Sorry, Dwayne, I screwed up the schedule.
It's all good. Thank you, Maureen. It was a good conversation that needed to be had. And with that, we're going to move quickly to Garrett, and he will talk to us about communication and connection, which we have seen has done great things so far. So Garrett will talk to us about how we can extend that even further.
All right, thanks, Dwayne. I'm going to go quick because we're a little behind. As you all know, we have our coalition website, and if you look on the coalition website, if you click on this members link here, there is a little tiny list of all agencies that kind of have any relationship with us. We have like the loosest membership rules of anything in the world. And if you want to be, and we also have a little membership directory. So if you want to find my contact information, you can kind of put in here and get close to my name and search, and you can find how to get a hold of me. Any one of you can set up that just by going in, and you can kind of click the sign-in link in the upper left corner anytime, or back from that search screen, there's a fill out our member information form, right, which has you create an account and fill some information in. And you can pick to have it visible just to people that have logged in as members or for the general public. I was going to walk us all through doing that, but I think we're short on time. So I would love it if you could all do that. Folks oftentimes ask me, how can I get a hold of Colin? How can I get a hold of Donna? And it would be great if there was a little easier tool so that folks could get a hold of you really quickly instead of waiting for me to respond or not knowing how to get a hold of you and not being able to make the connections. And just as we saw with the heat response, our web of connections is what served our clients this past week. So if you have questions, give me a holler and I will hand it back off to you, Dwayne.
Thank you, Garrett. Appreciate it. All right, now we're going to move on to the poetry project with Bill Fay. Say that 3 times fast. And he is going to talk to us about how making that human connection and letting the people tell their own stories is an important part of the work that we do. Take it off, Bill.
Thank you. Appreciate being here. I had discussion early on with Garrett and Kevin, and the discussion was how I could use my background in putting together chapbooks for nonprofits for awareness and to connect with from a marketing standpoint and from an awareness standpoint with perhaps another nonprofit, and this would be for the coalition. What an experience. What an absolutely incredible experience. So I was fortunate enough to be able to talk to mental health professionals and also talk with a recovering opiate addict that had been taken onto the streets through that terrible process and then came back. A street musician who was living on the streets, formerly was in New Orleans and played bass down there. Veteran, 2 individuals that had experienced youth homelessness and were now no longer youth, but they were advocates for it. I had long discussions with them. Also, through the mental health professionals, I had a sense of what it would be like, what they're dealing with when they go out on the streets and they actually have to deal with people that have these conditions. So I had many slices and many layers, many experiences where I would go out and I would talk with an individual. The first thing that I ran into was, for me, was this. There was a sense of, there was a barrier. There was a barrier between me, the individual that I was going to talk to, and that individual talking to me. There's always this level of apprehension that I was totally unaware of. I'm just a poet out here writing, but I deal with some very powerful issues for other advocacy groups. This was transformational, literally. Sit down with them, but get over the, what are you doing? This sounds crazy. And I'd give them some sample work, and then I would do the poem, and then I'd go away. I'd get the data. I'd go ahead, do additional research, put it all together, write the poem, and then go back. If I could find the person, and would read it to them, and I'd give them a copy. The poems are written from an anonymous standpoint, so the individual itself, himself or herself, is not threatened by its publication. That's a ground rule. But the impact, I could hardly believe the impact. You want to write my story? I said, yes, I want to write your story. One of the poems in the book is simply called Dignity. It's about 3 pages long, and it was an experience by fire and learning about dignity in this process. Other ones include Exit Ramp. Then there's one on the street musician, the one on the vet, the one on the youth, the one on mental health, the one on economic impacts and how that can put you out on the street. There are different forms and styles. And I can hardly talk about it, it's so powerful. It's just so emotional. But I'm to the point where I've written all the poetry. The pages are now blocked out. I'm to that inflection point where I've got to do the editing. I've got to do the auxiliary material, the dedication to the coalition, and fold in photographs. And then the plan is that then the product, once it's printed, will be provided and delivered to the coalition for distribution within the coalition and its members. The other books that I have done have been used for fundraisers. You're out there, you're doing some fundraising, you say, if you give us X dollars, you get a book. So they use the book as promotional material for the fundraiser. And then I come in, anyone who wants me to, I will read the book. If you buy the book, and you want to have a Zoom meeting for people who have contributed, then I will read the book. I've already read part of the manuscript on CB Live, which is Cultivating Voices Live, and some other poetry groups. So there's a fair amount of interest in, I don't want too fat-headed, but the quality of the material and the empathetic impact of the material. So that's where I am in the process. I wanted to give you folks an update on it and also let you know that the timeline as we're looking out going forward is I should be able to have a compilation typesetting done in the next 3 weeks or so. And then there's about a 2-week production process. And then I will be making the deliveries of the product. Thank you.
Thank you, William. We appreciate the update, and we always appreciate the fact that you're out here letting others tell their story and share it with us. It's always great to see the humanity on both sides of the tables. And so we appreciate the fact that you're doing this for us. Thank you, William. All
My
right.
pleasure.
With that, we will move on to, at this time, government updates. First and foremost, we'll allow those that are in the room that are with the government to raise their hands and give their updates if they have them. And if I don't see any hands, I'll just start calling off the list.
I can go first.
All right. Thank you.
I don't mind.
Thank you, Valerie.
Sure. So I'm Valerie with Pierce County. So government updates. We have served just over $20 million in rental assistance so far since March. So that is just over 3,172 households. Currently, we still are rolling through the applications as fast as we can. We do know we're getting more American Rescue Plan dollars and we are getting more state dollars. We go to a meeting on Thursday with the state because it's an opt-in, not an opt. You have to opt in. It's not automatic for the state dollars because there's so many more requirements. I don't see why we would ever say no to additional dollars. We'll just change the process, right? Like that's what we do. So we're working through that. We did make a few tweaks to the process this week to allow our providers to just get through folks faster. And so we're implementing those things now, such as increased self-certifications, how fast they can go straight from a tenant to a landlord. What does the process look? So just know like the program is always evolving and changing, and we're looking at ways to constantly improve our process for not only the providers, because they're amazing, but the tenants and the landlords as well. So lots happening every single day. We are constantly in conversation. We did work very closely with Tacoma Pro Bono, and we worked with Dispute Resolution Center when the governor made his proclamation. Like, one, what the heck does it mean? Because we have a functioning rental assistance program. So we have educated, I know, Mark, I was like, what? So we have done many emails between last Tuesday and today to the tenants, to the landlords. Like we're almost spamming at this point, just sharing information, contact resources, management, just trying to make sure that they know they're in the process. Please don't evict anyone. This is what this looks like. And so we're going to keep that up as we go, because that's the way to resolve stress is communication and transparency. So that's what we are going to continue doing. That is an expectation. So Jennifer, have you certified with the RAP as operational yet with DOC? DOC meaning Department of Commerce or Department of Corrections? I think you mean Commerce. Or both. We added our language to the website today that we're operational, and we are notifying them today. We have a due date until the 9th, so we're still ahead. But yeah, we are operational. We have been since March 8th. So we're just going to continue pushing forward as is and convince our landlords to be patient and our tenants to just pay what you can, make the agreements, and follow. If anybody works with the Dispute Resolution Center, they're actually going to be prioritized. So we're prioritizing 3 buckets now: under 50% area medium income, anybody who's been unemployed for 90 days, and anybody working with Dispute Resolution Center. So that process has already been ironed out. We are referring people straight over to Garrett, doing an invitation or an introduction, I should say, with Dispute Resolution Center, the tenant, the landlord, and their provider, so that they are all on the same page as to what's happening, who's paying what, and process. We are also hearing about other rental assistance programs in the community. So I reached out to MDC yesterday because they have a rental assistance program, but we don't fund them. So I'm trying to get more information on like, what's your fund source? Do we need to ensure non-duplication? Do you want referrals from the portal? Because we have 11,000 applications. And so I'm just waiting to hear back from them. So fantastic. And so we're just processing that. So Maureen, you have a question on the MOU for the emergency housing vouchers. The MOU is being processed with THA. We have not heard back from Pierce County Housing Authority yet on what they want to do with their vouchers. So Anne Marie is the lead on that work, and she is reaching out daily to get an update on what PCHA, the Pierce County Housing Authority, wants to do for their emergency vouchers. But THA, MOU ready to go. We are processing, going through all the process for the contract between them and the county, and then we will move forward. But the COC has signed off on that, voted in full, and ready to go. So that all happened rather quickly last week. So thank you, Maureen. Any other questions? Translation, yes, continuum of care. See, thanks, Garrett. I was trying to do good and I missed 2. Anything anybody else has or needs from me? No? Okay. I'm here all meeting.
Thank you,
Valerie?
Valerie.
Sure.
Valerie, I just want to say thank you for the email that was sent out to everybody who's applied for rental assistance. I've shared that and asked that other counties do the same thing. It was very thorough. It said, don't move, don't leave, everybody stay calm. I thought that was great. I think another thing that possibly could happen is that folks note that the 14-day notice is not an eviction notice. I think we've scared people to death by saying that it's been thought of as an eviction notice. It's like a late payment notice. Like if you get a late notice from your electricity or, anything, it's not an eviction. So if we can try to calm people down by saying that that's not an eviction notice.
Okay, I can add that, and that's a great thing. I forgot one other thing we're doing. We are actually doing a postcard mail out to every single residential address in Pierce County. It will go out, I believe, today. So that's 340,000 households. It has information on rental assistance, if they've already applied, what happens, what the eviction moratorium means, and mortgage assistance. So just know that you will all probably get a postcard, and it comes in multiple languages on the back. So that was done last week. We got it finalized, and it should be going out this week here soon. But I had never done that before. That was pretty new for me. So we are just we know not everyone has internet, right? Not everybody has internet, and not everybody checks their email. So we wanted to find another route to be able to reach people. So I'm thinking it's rather expensive, but I think we may do it pretty regularly moving forward. It's over $100,000 to do a postcard to every address. So, but I think it's well worth every penny.
You totally rock.
Thanks, Mark. I appreciate you.
Thank you very much, Valerie. Is there anyone else that has any questions for Valerie?
I don't know if it's really a question or a statement. And again, it's just Catherine touched on it. And then Valerie, is just, the epitome of it is we all have to work together, both as housing providers and as occupants and as case managers and as assistance programs. And if there's, I know, Valerie, the postcard is done, I'm sure produced, but it's just be in communication, be in communication, be in communication. If you get a notice or reach out or a conversation or a touch from anybody, especially in the world of housing, which I'm very passionate about, be in communication no matter where you are in the conversation. Whoever reached out, respond, be in communication. What does this mean? What are we trying to work on? What if there's a payment plan, or just try to understand, whatever it is, coach people to be in communication so that we're not in the dark wondering what the heck's happening. And I guess I get it. There's barriers, there's concerns, there's political and monetary and language, all kinds of concerns, shame, all of it. And when there's no communication, just like we had started our meeting today, there's breakdowns, even when we're trying to help people stay cool and live through the heat. So, and in housing, it's the same. So I just wanted to add that. And Valerie and Catherine, thank you for that.
Of course. Yeah. And if you ever have language you want added to it, we're doing a weekly email every Friday to all tenants and landlords at least. We also are responding to the inbox the same day. So that inbox gets between 400 and 600 emails a day. So you can imagine what I do in my spare time is respond to emails. But that's part of our goal, is to just be fully transparent. Yeah, this is a struggle. Yes, this really sucks for everybody, and we're trying really hard. So if there's process improvements that anyone on this call wants to recommend, we are open to hearing them and making implementation changes. So if you have language you want sent out, we are happy to share it. DRC and Sound Outreach send information through us for their programs, and so just know that we're happy to add those in.
Thank you very much, Valerie. We see we have Tegan on the call. Do you have anything that you'd like to add today?
Hi, Dwayne. Thanks. Yeah, I always appreciate Valerie's rental assistance, so I don't have to go into all of it again. So thank you. So a couple of things I want to highlight is that the hygiene stations are currently still operational. Next week will be the last week of the one that's at 8th and Yakima. So I just wanted to give that update. There are currently a number of spaces available at Bethlehem Baptist Church, and that's for families, single women, and couples. So there's a lot of availability. So if anybody has referrals to send there, please do so. And I know we had a robust conversation about water distribution. And I know currently the stability site has reserved water for future emergencies of heat. So there's a lot that's being stored there still. I'll put this in the chat. So we also have the city's funded temporary and emergency shelter performance metrics. So I'll send a link to that for anybody that would like to see that. It also has vacancies at our emergency and temporary shelter site. So you can see if there's availability for anybody you might have a referral for. And as I said, Bethlehem Baptist has quite a few right now. I think they have 7. As for that, the last one I really wanted to provide is that Neighborhood and Community Services will be presenting to council a homeless update on July 13th at study session. So I wanted to share that as well. That's all I got. It's always good to see everyone.
Thank you very much, Tegan. Is there any other city officials or county officials that are online that have any updates? All right. Well, if not, full transparency, I need to circle back because I forgot to ask Mike Boyster if he could give us an update on the changes to the Beacon Street Center. So let's circle back to Mike and give him a chance to speak to us about the Beacon Street Center.
Boy, I thought I was going to get away with it. Had to go and get me some coffee. Sorry. Yep. For some of you that probably don't know, I'm the, what's a good term? Probably operations manager of Beacon Center in Tacoma at 13th and Fawcett. Yesterday, and let me not forget that I'm working for Vallejo. And so we've taken over the operation of Beacon Center. We've met with city people and we've had a couple of meetings and in-person meetings. And I think we're on a real good roll. We have what I call circle up. I think Paula will recognize that term. And we got everybody together last night, and I wasn't ready for the length of time that they wanted to vent, give us information, and they did, and it was really good. So we're going to be taking some of that. And there, what do you want to say? There's always a little bit of fear, you know, when somebody new in town, you know, can I do this or can I do that? We're not making a lot of changes, but we are making changes. And let me think. We had, I believe, last 2 nights right around the 30 to 35 number. I think last night was a very calm night. But with the people, it's for me, it's interesting because it's a whole different culture, climate, group of people with youth. And it opened my eyes last night because I was there for a while. And I think it opened our staff people's eyes a little bit too, because it is a different group of people. There's different things in which we have to do. But coming out of our meeting, I think it was extremely positive. But again, it goes back to that big word of trust. It'll take some time because they said, a couple of them said, hey, we've heard this before and nothing really changed. And so what I think it was a very good meeting, good transition between CLR and us. We're working back and forth almost every day. And so that's kind of where we're at. Our hours are 8 to 8. And we have a van that picks people up at 8 o'clock in the morning and takes them to the Heights Center, the ones that want to go there. And that's kind of all I have, unless someone has some questions. I am going to add my information in the chat So I've had a couple of calls already this morning about people, how do I get them over to Beacon? Some of it is, the transportation from Height, but other than that, they have to get there themselves. Okay.
Does that mean that all staffing changed? Like, is Jake still the person to call, or?
You're muted, Mike.
Oh, sorry, I hit a different button. Jake is over at Height, and all of our staff has changed. So it's all Vallejo staff.
So who do we call for referral? Did all of that change on the website? Sorry. I do refer kids to Beacon a lot, and I
Yep.
usually just call Jake.
Well, for right now, we're trying to get everything changed, even the phone number, so on and so forth. But I just put my information in the chat. We'll start there.
And Haley, I'll jump in. This is Sherry with Vallejo, where we, all of the technical stuff that was there, the Wi-Fi, the phone, all of that went with the Hype Center. So we have a phone ordered. It's going to be still a week until we have Wi-Fi even set up. So we're in the process. I should have a phone number for distribution for Tegan so she can update the city site today. But for now, just refer everybody to Mike.
All right. Garrett?
I have a quick question. I might have missed it. Did you say what the hours are?
Our open hours are 8 p.m. to 8 a.m.
All right. Are there any other questions for Mike? All right. If not, thank you very much, Mike. Appreciate the updates. I hate to put you on the spot, but I wanted to ask for Kelly or Shalia, is there any updates for the collaboration for the cause on Wednesday? Or if you could give us a quick update on that?
If Kelly's on the call, I defer to her. If not, then I will answer. Let's wait for Kelly.
Okay.
Absolutely, I am here. So on the collaboration for a cause, we had a really successful event and very thankful to all of the partners who participated and were able to get us some supplies. So we had 75 families come through, and we were able to provide all kinds of resources from portable cell phone chargers, solar powered cell phone chargers, socks, we had water, and then we also put out 50 kids school supply bags from Multicultural, which were absolutely amazing. We had $10 gas cards. What else? Am I missing something, Sheila? We had bus passes, but just really overall, I mean, our resource bags that we put together were flyers from so many of you, the rent assistance, utility assistance, of course, all of our training and education programs, Tacoma Pro Bono. I had a few people have actually called me since the event and just said, wow, thank you so much for these resources. We didn't know about this stuff in the community. So just very thankful to everybody, the Pierce County Community Engagement Task Force, the coalition, of course. Just all the partners, just a very successful event. We have 4 more events coming up this summer. I believe our next one is in collaboration with the Family Resource Center on the east side, where that will be a walk-up event as well. And I'll get that flyer out if you haven't seen it already. That should come from Carrie Ching. And then we'll also be participating in National Night Out on Hilltop on August 3rd, down at the Theophos Waterway for the concert series. And then, of course, Hire 253 in conjunction with Project Homeless Connect in September. So definitely doing a lot of big things. We certainly are already back in the process again of collecting more items that we can get out to the community as well. And whatever we can do to help with, water distribution as well, please reach out to us. And we're going to work on getting some more pallets of that from the More Right group as well. So thank you so much to everybody again who participated, and look forward to the rest of the summer.
Thank you very much, Kelly. We appreciate the update. Wanted to take a quick second. I'm seeing in the chat and folks are talking about it. Can I have Arrow? And I know we're running a little late, but this is a big thing. Arrow just let everybody know that there was a fire at one of the camps. And I wanted to see if he could give us a quick update if you're wanting to, or if that's okay with you, Arrow.
Yeah, so sorry we didn't bring that up in the weekly meeting, but there was a fire. There was two fires actually. There was one at Yakima and 8th, and there was one, I guess, like under an underpass near the I-5. And the one at Yakima and 8th, we're getting ambiguous reports because, right, the issue is if people say, oh, this was not an accident, then police are going to come, right? and start doing investigating and all sorts of stuff like that. So if people, you know, say it's an accident, then it can typically, it's an internal thing, it's done on its own. But where we are concerned, and the reason that we are concerned is like how fast the fire was started and how fast it rapidly went, and it burned down like maybe 4 or 5 tents. I mean, it burned down a significant portion of the Yakima 8th camp that's on 8th Street if you're looking at Yakima on the left side. And but what we're really concerned about too is that there was another fire that same night, and we've been getting reports, and the medics have been serving people all over town, 6th and M, down by the river, 6th and L, which are just 1 block from each other, but and now Yakima. So we've been getting reports of people shooting at camps with pellet guns. And so we're worried, and I've been treating an elder at 6th and L who got shot in the head with a pellet gun, and I've been treating the wound. It's still in his forehead, actually. And so we're sort of worried that there's like a potential that maybe like whoever is doing those attacks may have escalated. There's no evidence to say that that's the fact. We're just worried for that right now. But more than anything, like if the Yakima folks lose their hygiene stations and all that, I mean, it's just they're so vulnerable right now. Like they need extra care, not less. So I just worry about them. And there's some pretty severe infections there too. But yeah, there was a fire.
Oh, that is very disturbing. Keep us up to date, Errol, please, and let us know what we can do to assist.
Oh, I'm sorry. And I was also like, we've been replacing tents and tarps and things like that, and doing the best we can. We don't have a huge budget, you know, we're all volunteers and it's all donations, so we don't have a huge thing, but we've replaced, I think, 5 or 6 tents so far, a bunch of tarps and things like that, and we'll keep replacing as folks ask us.
Thank you again. Appreciate the update. And thank you for letting me put you on the spot there real quick. All right. As we are moving so far behind, we are going to move forward with the advocacy updates with Maureen.
All right, thanks, folks. So number one, if you work with families with children, the child tax credit kicked in yesterday, July 1st. So if your folks have direct deposit, that money should be showing up in their accounts. If they don't call me. We'll find out who to call for you to contact if you've got people with a glitch. But that's additional money every month for 12 months. $3,000 for those children who are dependents who are 6 to 17. This is total money. $3,600 for those 6 and under. So and the income levels are quite high. If you have children, you may well qualify. So that's one thing. Second thing is our Coalition Housing Committee will meet July 8th. I'll send it out to the full listserv again, just so everybody knows how to join. The Shelter Plan Committee work group meets July 8th. Mike Boyster is our representative on that. So reach out to Mike if you've got things you want him to be aware of. And I know because he has nothing else to do, he'll let us know what he needs from us. At the federal level, the work is to try and maintain housing in one of the infrastructure bills moving forward, whether that is in the current, possibly bipartisan agreed upon bill, or if it's in the budget resolution that the Democrats will have promised to follow with. Then there's a laundry list of things happening, and they're all happening really fast and simultaneously. The members of SHAPE, the South Sound Housing Affordability Program, all the mayors, the county exec across Pierce County are now looking at the ARPA money to jumpstart their work in affordable housing. They're developing their own kind of list of projects. Individual organizations are going one-on-one to council members, pitching their individual projects. The Affordable Housing Consortium I sent the survey out. If you're a provider, homeless or housing, complete that survey. That's the pipeline of potential projects that the Affordable Housing Consortium will put forward. Home in Tacoma starts a series of hearings. Actually, they started this week. Opportunities, and we'll have updates next week. We've got the Tacoma's homeless 5-year strategy. We've got housing plans out in Puyallup and Lakewood and Processes and Bonnie Lake and maybe other places. We've got a new ordinance put forward in Tacoma about the multifamily tax credit, tax exemption. And so where I have asked, and there's been some pushback already, so but I'm going to put it out. I don't have enough time to work through various internal processes and calendars. And I don't want to bring every letter that I think the coalition should submit as a public comment for a Friday morning vote. It could too easily take over the agenda, could too easily take over other kinds of agendas. But what I have seen happen is that when we publicly comment, we get public response. We share those comments with elected officials, and we continue to develop a network of people who have power to support the changes we want and keep the folks who are unsheltered, people who are experiencing homelessness, people who are at risk, people who are below 30% AMI on the table. And these are the hardest, most difficult folks to assist. So what I put forward to the steering committee in the middle of the night was that you all take a vote this morning that would authorize me in this role as the senior policy analyst to provide public comment on behalf of the coalition on policy and funding issues that are in alignment with our commitment to end homelessness. And we've got some of those already written down. We've got our list of ARPA priorities. We've got our list of CARES priorities. We've got the fact that we follow the Washington Low-Income Housing Alliance legislative agenda, that sort of thing, and that we are now members of the National Coalition for the Homeless. So that's my ask. And Garrett, I think, made a poll. I don't know if people have questions or comments. I'm just asking this for the summer to try and get the coalition on record wherever I think you all should be.
I do have a poll, but I think it'd be a good idea to have any questions and discussion before we put that up.
Question, yeah, Rosemary.
I was just wondering, since you are our official representative to the Comprehensive Planning Committee, that we could, in order for this to be something that's moves along things quickly now, but doesn't necessarily have a timeline that ends it at all, that we could say as our representative to the comprehensive plan that we authorize you to do this. I don't know that that changes the poll, but I would feel pretty comfortable with that because it's really what we're asking you to do anyway. Just having a long-term strategy about how we do that is part of our governance conversation that we need to keep talking about, how we have that to make people, as you, feel really that you're authorized to do what you really need to do, as well as other folks.
Yeah, that's a good tie, because that really is comprehensive. Megan, I see your hand.
Yeah, I'm cool with this with the short term, but I would love this body has become more and more like democratic and laying out procedures as a part of that work, really combat white supremacy culture also make sure that things, folks have ability to get plugged in, but also for transparency. I would really advocate that this be only short term so that we can build out like a procedure for this. Whether that be and thoughtfully think that through for like the long term, because people come and go because of capacities, but like, we want this work to still continue. I appreciate you, Maureen, and stepping up and adding more to your plate as you do everything. You do so much. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking about. And
Thank you. Other people comments? So Dwayne or Garrett, I'm going to ask one of you to refine the poll then, based on what's been said.
I believe Garrett will be the pollster for today.
I'm working on it.
Thank you.
Just like to say, Zoom changed the way that you edit the polls, and I am not pleased with Zoom's change. So if you have any connections to Zoom.
Well, Garrett's doing his magic. My thought was that anytime I do a public comment, if you agree, anytime I would do a public comment, then I would share that public letter on the listserv. Garrett or whomever is going to do the website would put it there, so we've got a public record of what we have. And in some ways, this actually saves me time.
Understood. And curiosity, Megan, is that a new hand or is that the same one? Okay, thank you.
It's another thing Zoom can fix.
Right, so I'm suggesting our wording be, should the coalition authorize Maureen Howard as representative to the county's comprehensive plan to provide public comment on behalf of the coalition as represented? Oh my God, this is such a mess. There's no reason I should have ever.
Could we have the update from the parking group while you're working on it so you don't need to rush?
Maureen, can we push this off for 1 week? Would that be bad?
As long, I mean, comments are due the 7th on $40 million of state money.
All right, I'll work on the poll. I'll work on the poll now.
And I think that's a smart idea, Rosemary.
Comments are due on the 13th on Home in Tacoma. Well, that one we could push to Friday, but.
So did we want to do that while Garrett's working on it? So we aren't all just staring at Garrett working?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Can we talk about safe sites real quick? Can we get an update from Colin if he's online?
Yes, hello. I am out at a spot, so I don't have any video, and hopefully you guys can hear me. Updates just on the safe parking piece of safe sites. Our safe sites for all had a really good meeting. I'm guessing it was kind of covered in the beginning of this with, really the core of the debrief on what went on with the, severe weather and the water. So that was a really good conversation, frustrating conversation for some of us, but good conversation. And I'm hopeful that things will improve moving forward with that. I did want to say, just when we talk about safe sites for all and hearing what Arrow had to say with, the combination of fires, which I've seen in many cities where people come in, not saying that it happened here, but it's not hard, especially this time of year, to start a tent or a tarp on fire. It can happen really easy. Doesn't take much. And it's just really disappointing to hear that people are getting shot. And I think we all know why. We all know that the whole safe sites for all, Yakima Avenue and 8th is not a safe site for all. It's not a safe site for anyone. And that's why, once again, this is another example of why we need to continue pushing forward with creating safe sites for those individuals to actually be at, so they're not literally targets 24/7 by whatever disgruntled group or individual wants to demonstrate their views on homelessness. So super, super disappointing to hear. And once again, kind of like the water, it's actions. And I'm really hopeful that I have a meeting kind of transitioning on with the city of Tacoma later. Tegan and I are going to meet, and I don't know if anybody else but just to discuss safe parking and some other things and kind of get some updates on stuff. So hopefully that'll be a positive meeting. I'm sure it will. As far as the safe parking, we are moving forward. Things are going well. As mentioned, with all the other plates Gerald has, we have the Rise Center is up and going right now. So small site, but great site. So that is awesome. I just got a referral from Garrett last night, actually. The individual stayed at our South Hill site, and I'm going to go over and meet with him sometime today and see if I got to get TUUC on and see if they're ready. They are ready. So ideally, I'm trying to place 2 individuals at the TUUC site to get it going, because we didn't want to just put one person out there. We haven't had really good luck with that. I know TUUC is excited to get going. So we're rolling with that. Pastor Paul is still just being the model of how to do it in at our South Hill Baptist site. So things are going really well. There was a meeting with Lakewood. There's some energy from a church in Lakewood. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to, they didn't have a Zoom meeting. It's crazy because they set up a meeting and I'm like, okay, just send me the Zoom invite. Well, it was an in-person meeting. So it's good to see that we're actually having in-person meetings again. Unfortunately, I was unable to attend it. We've met with this church before. It's Kim Moulton's church. There's some energy around that, but kind of where we're at right now is with the 3 sites that we have, until we figure out some more funding and what that looks like moving forward. We're kind of just going to keep what we have and see how long we can run this, which ideally will get us through summer, which is great. So keep the referrals coming. Our South Hill site is full, but we do have openings definitely at TUUC, and we got a couple spots at the Rise site also. So yeah, things are going well, just continuing to move along.
Appreciate the update. Thank you, Colin. Do we have an update from Janet? I don't see her on the meeting, but I don't see everybody, so.
Just an excused absence.
All right, that works. All right, we will move forward then to the good of the order.
I'm ready with the poll.
Oh,
so.
Yes. Garrett can go ahead and run the poll for what we had talked about with Marie.
And again, we can vote no if we don't like this. There's been some concern about the time limitations. We're tying it to Maureen's elected role as the representative to the county comprehensive plan. So that's a 5-month, and that particular role ends. And that will give us time, if we put some energy to it, to create an easier process for us to make public comment that we feel, I think will help us to be nimble in this day and age. Anyway, I'm going to launch the poll. All of that preface. Should the coalition authorize Maureen Howard as representative to the county comprehensive plan to provide public comment on behalf of the coalition on policy and funding issues in alignment with the coalition's commitment to ending homelessness? That's one really long sentence. That definitely fails my attempts to make it accessible to all different reading levels. But there we are. We read it out loud. I'm going to give like 20 more seconds.
Hey, did you launch it?
Yes, you are logged in as a host,
I'm on
so
the
you
wrong.
don't get to
Okay,
vote.
got it. Got it.
But with voting so far, one person's vote is not going to matter. Unlike recent polls, Mike Boister would have been.
You can also, the co-host can like DM you, that's a good process.
All right, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And there we have it. And as always, shoot an email if you're one of the no's. We'd love to hear a little bit more about what we can do to mitigate some of those concerns if we can. So thanks, everybody.
Yes, thank you, everyone. Appreciate your time. All right. So now we will go back to the good of the order. And I see that Julian F. has an item that they would like to add for the good of the order.
Hello, this is Julian. Am I allowed to make an announcement?
Yes, please.
Great. And I just wanted to, I was about to say thank you, Rob, but you, of course, look a lot handsomer. I don't know if Rob is on the call. Anyway, thank you very much. Thank you, Garrett, Maureen, and everyone else. This is Julian Wheeler, Chair of the Pierce County Accessible Communities Advisory Committee. Just want to invite you to our next regular session. I dropped the information in the chat box for everyone. Tuesday, July 13 at 9 on Zoom. And I just wanted to, to indicate, first of all, we are looking for new members and new ideas, and we help expedite projects for funding that are brought to us. Then we take a vote, and if we vote to advance it, then it goes up to the Governor's Committee, where they may make a yes or no decision. And recently they made a no decision, so that's part of the possibility what could happen. But we don't stop trying, and we act under the Accessible Communities Act of 2010, and I just wanted to also thank you for having us. One more remote attendance option here. As Colin mentioned, I wanted to add on to that. There are organizations I'm volunteering with where they think that if you go back to in-person, the most that you could do for some members who are attending remotely is to let them observe. But I like the ability to participate remotely, not just to observe. So I wanted to encourage the coalition to keep doing this. And if you go back to having some people attend in person, to find a hybrid where we all can still participate. And if you have any sense of what we do as the ACAC, I just want to indicate that with the quadrant of knowledge, or if you know what you know, you know what you don't know, and you don't know what you don't know. I don't know who did that. It was Hemingway or Rumsfeld. Please attend our meetings just to find out what we do. There are many ways, a lot of what you're doing in the coalition can apply to people with disabilities. And we just want to make Pierce County more accessible. Thank you very much. Oh, and today's July 2nd. Happy Independence Day if you follow John Adams.
Thank you, Julian. Appreciate that. And I see Maureen has her hand up.
I forgot. So Garrett and I made an executive decision to put the donate button on the coalition website and to add that function. So we did it because so many people, when we asked people to donate water, they wanted to donate money. So the commitment is that whatever comes in, the first money goes to people to meet the needs of people who are living unsheltered. We don't know how that happens. That is a coalition process. It'll start with a steering committee. When no money goes out until everybody agrees what the process is and what the policies are around it. So I just want to be really clear about that. So thank you.
Thank you for that update. Anything else for the good of the order? And again, I don't see hands right now.
Paula.
So Paula.
Yeah, I just wanted to let people know that today, and I don't know if there's anybody from Salvation Army on here today or not, but there's some kind of recognition for the couple that started it, William and Catherine Booth, back in the late 1800s, I believe. But one of the quotes that Catherine Booth had, I think, is a great one for us at this time. All she said was, to better the future, we must disturb the present. So I think we're all pretty good at doing that. And I wanted to leave you guys with that.
Amazing words. Thank you. Appreciate that. Anyone else have anything for the good of the order? And I know we are over time. Just want to make sure that everybody has a chance to speak. Appreciate you guys as a grace with allowing us to be that far over. Thank you. All right. Megan?
Saying goodbye.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you. All
I
right.
can report, so Food Not Bombs in Tacoma DSA ended up doing an action on Wednesday at the Walk Up Back Tacoma Day, essentially raising the question of who is this crisis over for, explicitly just gonna name appreciation for this group, because really quickly, because of the updates by Lori and other folks about the eviction moratorium, really elevating those loopholes and needing to close those gaps and fighting rent debt, and then also elevating the things around the camping ban and needs from folks experiencing homelessness. It ended up going really well. Yeah, and continued actions moving forward. Feel free to, if you're interested in Tacoma DSA, like political organizing, advocating in that way, feel free to reach out to me. I'm at chair@tacomadsa.org. Yeah, so, but I'm gonna go. Nice to hang out with y'all.
Thank you. Appreciate that and appreciate your time. All right, guys. At this time, I believe we should probably have the reflections it be sent to us an email because of the time. Or is that okay with you, Garrett, or do you want to? Okay. And so thank you guys for attending today. Again, please, if you have any reflection on how today's meeting went, what worked, what didn't, and what we should do differently next time, please send it to us in the email, and we will take into account what you send and talk about it, basically. So thank you again. Have a great weekend. Appreciate all the time that I spend in this collaborative with you people. It makes me feel well. And so enjoy your weekend and do well and love each other. Thank you.